Hey everyone, welcome to Plant-Based Cooking with John, your go-to channel for delicious plant-based recipes that won't break the bank. Whether you're a seasoned cook or just starting out, you'll find easy to follow recipes that use simple ingredients and basic kitchen equipment. On today's episode, we're going to be preparing homemade vegetable soup. Now, vegetable soup has always been a favorite of mine, even growing up as a child. And we're going to do it not out of the can, but straight with the ingredients. So it'll be fresh, it'll be hearty, and it's kind of that time of year when you want to just have a nice bowl of soup that warms you up. So let's dive in. To start things off, let's talk about the ingredients we're going to be using in this recipe. So first, let's start with the veggies. This is a vegetable soup, so of course there will be veggies. Okay, so the first vegetable that we're going to be using are potatoes. Now in this particular recipe, you can use any variety, Yukon Gold, red potatoes, whatever you prefer. I just happen to have russet potatoes, so we're going to be using this, and I have 3. 2 of them are a pretty good size. This one's a little smaller, so about that ratio. The second item we're going to be using is an onion. Now, this onion, I like red onion for the bold flavor as discussed in previous episodes, but for this, I think a yellow onion or a white onion works best for this soup. You're going to want to get that transparency when we cook it at first, so you can have a red onion if you want, but I would prefer this one for this particular recipe. The next item we're going to use is garlic. And in this case, we're going to use 4 cloves. 4 cloves of garlic, okay? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in my hand. That's going to be essential for starting the cookout. The next item we're going to be using is celery. And in this recipe, I use 4 stalks. These are about medium-sized stalks, so 4 celery. They kind of look like ninja weapons, how I'm holding them, but not dangerous. This will be good. The next one thing that you're going to use is carrots, and I would say 2 carrots. In my fridge, I didn't have the full carrots, but I did have some baby carrots, so I would say about this amount. I managed to only grab this much. There's about 4 more on my counter, so about 2 handfuls. And then the last veggie you're going to, well, I guess there's 2 actually. One of them is going to be just a bag of frozen vegetables. Okay, now carrots are one of the vegetables that are in this bag, but that's okay. The carrots that I'm going to be cutting for the recipe will just make the soup heartier with more ingredients, and carrots are delicious anyway, so you can't have too much of those. All right, and then the last item that we're going to use as far as the veggies go is crushed tomatoes. Okay, this is going to give that tomato base of the soup that is common in most vegetable soups. And in this case, this crushed tomato, this one is a 28-ounce can, and that's what you need. You can get 2 smaller cans, 2 14-ounce cans, but I'm using a 28-ounce cans because they had it in this quantity. So that's the other thing we're going to be using. And then we're also going to be using a vegetable broth. So you can get a vegetable broth. Some of them have lower sodium. Some of them are vegetable stock, also fine in this recipe. And then this one is 32 ounces, so that's 4 cups, and that's the amount we need for the soup, okay? And then, of course, what wouldn't a recipe be without your salt and pepper? So you're going to need salt and pepper for that, for seasoning. And then an herb of some kind. So in this case, I just have just enough left of my Italian seasoning in here. So that will be good to season the soup with. And then one of my special ingredients in this, that is one of those items that you don't really need, but I feel like it takes the soup up a notch, is Worcestershire sauce. Now be careful with Worcestershire sauce if you decide to get this. First off, this gives it just a, what's the word I'm looking for? It gives it just more depth, I guess, in the soup. It makes it a little bit, it gives it that heartier, smokier taste if you like that. And what I was going to say with the Worcestershire, just be careful that it's a vegan Worcestershire sauce, because a lot of Worcestershire sauce recipes, the original recipe has anchovies, which I didn't know for a long time. So just make sure when you pick this up at the store, if you decide to use it in this recipe, that it is the vegan brand. I'm now going to list all the ingredients we just discussed on the screen. That way, if you want to pause the video to write them down or gather them up, you can, or simply pause the video and follow along with me as we make it together. First, I like to start with the onions, the celery, and the garlic, because that's what we're going to be cooking first, okay? So first, you're going to use this whole onion. So you'll just want to cut this onion up. We'll want this in diced portions. And then I'm going to start dicing this now. All right, I have my onion diced, so that's good to go. Now I'm just going to give my celery a quick rinse. I'm going to cut that up as well. Okay, so in this one, I do like to not dice my celery. I do like to, I'm cutting off the ends here because they got a little aerated. I'll do that to both ends actually. And I like to see the celery in the soup. I like to keep it a little bit more rustic, I guess would be the word. And so I keep them in just their normal strips. So about this size, okay? You don't need, you can cut it smaller if you want, but I think it's nice to really see those pieces in the soup. All right, now I have my celery and onion cut, so I'm gonna go right to my garlic. And garlic, how I like to take care of this is just to give it a good press. So I'm just going to now peel off the skin of the garlic. So I have the, all right. And then if you notice, some of your garlic pieces will, they'll have this little piece right here and then this end piece. I like to just cut those two ends off. They'll look like this. I'm just going to dice these up as well, and once again these can go right with the onion and the celery because these are the first three ingredients that we're going to cook. All right, as you can see, I have my onion, garlic, and celery diced and ready to go. All right, I just want to take a quick moment and say that there was one ingredient that I forgot to mention, and that is olive oil. And you only need a little bit. I did put it on the screen, but I didn't discuss it. Olive oil, I'm just going to make sure that the bottom of the pan is covered. So what, that's about 2 tablespoons, I would say. You could probably use 1 as well. And I'm just going to swirl this around so it coats the bottom of the pan. And at this point, I'm going to turn this onto a medium to high heat. And I'm going to add the ingredients that we've already cut. So the garlic, the celery, and the onion. And you just want to make sure that you get all of these first 3 ingredients in the pan. Or I'm sorry, in the pot. Okay, we're back to the chopping block. So I'll first start with the potatoes. You'll just want to peel these potatoes so the skin's completely off of them. I'm just using this standard peeler. And for the red potatoes or the yellow potatoes, whatever you decide to use, you may keep the skins on them. I would just give them a nice scrub if you prefer that. It will cook nicely in the soup. But for the russet potatoes, I do not keep the skin on. All right, I finished peeling my potatoes, so now it's time to cut them. Now you want these to be somewhat small, but you want them to be recognizable pieces within the soup, okay? So I'm gonna first just cut them right down the middle and then lay them flat. Okay, and then from there, I'm just going to cut this flat piece right down the middle again, and then cut about 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. And that'll give me a total of 8 pieces per half potato. I finished cutting the potatoes, so they're about, you know, this big. I'm gonna set those to the side, and now I'm gonna go to my carrots. Now, if you didn't get baby carrots like me and you have long sticks, this is going to be a lot faster for you. But here we're just going to cut basically the same size as we did for the celery. So I'm just cutting like little rounds. They're about, I guess, an inch to a ½ inch. We're just looking about right there for the carrot pieces. All right, I just finished up my carrots. And the best thing about this is now that I have these done, I can just leave them here for a moment because we're going to be going now to the cooking. That's all the prep that you're going to be doing for this recipe because, as you know, the mixed veggies, they're going to be already done. And the crushed tomatoes, they're also already done because they're in the can. Okay, now that we're minding the actual pan, I'm going to turn this up to that medium-high heat that I was discussing before. And now I just want to stir in the garlic, the onion, and the celery. And what I'm looking for here before I add the rest of the ingredients is I'm looking for the onions to appear a little golden brown and a little translucent so you can kind of see through the onion pieces. And you guys, with the celery and the garlic and the onion, it starts to smell so good. So you're gonna, if you're cooking this for anyone at home, they're going to be drawn to the kitchen with the combination of these veggies because it smells delicious. All right, so we're still cooking. It's almost there. Now the reason why we're cooking or sauteing these vegetables while the rest will be cooking within the broth is because we're really trying to extract the flavor out of the celery, onion, and garlic to kind of flavor the overall soup. And that really kind of sets the stage for how good that broth is going to be. So that's why we're really cooking this down. We're cooking down the fibrous rigidity of the celery. We're cooking down the garlic so that it's softer, and the onion will just add all of that flavor we need when we start adding the other ingredients. And right now my onions are actually starting to look translucent, so we can actually go on with the next part. Now from here on out it is smooth sailing, you guys, because we're going to use the same pot, so less cleaning. That's a good thing. And all the other ingredients are added at the same time. So we're just going to do them one by one here. The first thing I like to add is the broth. The next thing I add is the crushed tomatoes. Now I've already opened this with the can opener, and you can just go ahead and dump that right in. All right, I got the crushed tomatoes added and the vegetable broth added. So now it's time for the other ingredients. As you remember, I have my cut potatoes and cut carrots. I'm going to throw that right in there as well. Okay, now the pot's getting a little bit more full. And then I'm going to add my mixed veggies. In this mixed veggies, it's carrots, corn, green beans, and peas. You can also buy the peas separately, the corn separately, and the green beans separately in bags. This bag, I forgot to mention, is 12 ounces. So you could do like, 4 ounces of each ingredient. And then you already have the carrots, so you wouldn't need to buy those. But this one has carrots in there. This will just be a little bit more carrot heavy than normal, okay? And that's all right. Make it your own, you know? It's fine, because soups are so easy, because once you add all the ingredients, then you're just waiting for everything to cook. So first, I'm going to add my Italian blend. Now in this case, this is the end of the road for me, but this is about a tablespoon. You can put a tablespoon of your herbs in there, okay? I would say for the salt and pepper, you can kind of season it as you go, taste it as you go. But for the pepper, I like to make it a little bit peppery, so I'm gonna put a pretty good amount in here. If I'm estimating right, this is probably going to be about a teaspoon that I'm putting of pepper in here if you're measuring at home and you want to be a little bit more exact. And then I'm going to add the salt. Once again, this is kind of discretion, but I would say the amount that I'm adding, at least at first, is probably about a tablespoon's worth. And then for the Worcestershire, just about a tablespoon, which is all I had left in this bottle, so that was just enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and stir this around, make sure all the ingredients are incorporated and all mixed in well. It's starting to look really good. Look at that. Okay, and so I'm just going to mix this in really good. You can really smell the tomato now. I love that part of the process, all the great smells. And now what I'm going to do is wait until this all comes to a boil. As you can see that my soup is actually at now a boil. And that's good because that's going to help cook down the potatoes and the carrots so they're not fibrous or too hard. And you don't want to get them too soft either. You want them to have a little bit of a bite there. But now that it's come to a boil, I'm now going to decrease the temperature to a simmer. So that's about a low to medium, okay? And now I'm just going to take a lid for the pot and I'm only going to cover it halfway. Just like that. That's a little more than half, but just a little bit. It doesn't need to be fully covered. In fact, it's better if it cooks this way, so you're letting out some of the steam. And then we're going to cook it like this. You want to stir occasionally. You can do other things while this is cooking, but you just want to give it a stir, I would say, every 4 to 5 minutes. And we're going to let this cook for 30 minutes with the half lid. We're going to repeat this again with the half lid, except I'm just going to change the stir a little bit more and then change the side of the lid. All right, we're 30 minutes into the cooking time, and what I'm going to do is remove the lid, give it a little stir, and what I'm going to do here now is just kind of give the broth a taste test for the salt level. So I'm going to set this to the side, the lid to the side. I'm just going to grab a spoon. Now, caution, this is piping hot. You can see the steam. It's been simmering, it's been boiling. So I'm just going to blow on it and give it a little taste. Okay, I think the salt level is perfect, so I'm not going to add any salt. Now that I know that the taste of my soup and the ingredients are cooking down more and more, I'm just going to put the lid on the opposite side, like so, and let this cook for another 30 minutes. And then, alright, it's been about 30 more minutes, so I'm just going to remove this lid here. And a really good way to check to make sure that everything's cooked through is just grab one of the potatoes. This potato, I was able to split it in half, and of course blow on this before you try it, because this is going to be super hot. And it's exactly the right consistency where it's still tough, but it's soft when you bite into it. We're ready to turn off the heat, and it's ready to eat. As mentioned, it's pretty easy because while you do have a little bit of prep to do, and there are quite a few ingredients, it's really easy to make because it's just one pot and you're just stirring and watching it as it cooks. It's rich, it's hearty, the tomato really thickened the broth, so it's not quite like a stew. And this is so good for a cold winter day and fills you up And this has no meat, so it's a nice vegan or vegetarian option for a soup. Alright, now let's talk about storage. So I have this glass container with a lid right here, and I have my soup right here, still kind of hot. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ladle the soup in instead of pouring it directly, because what tends to happen is that when you pour it in directly, you tend to get all of the pieces and less of the broth. So this way I'm getting a nice equal scoop each time with enough broth. Another way to store the soup is getting a large mason jar. If you don't have one, I would just stick with this, or easier, if you want the easiest way of all, you can even wait till the pot cools, put the lid on the pot, and stick it right in the fridge. And I'm just scooping just as I did before. And this time, since I know it's the rest, I'm trying to grab all the chunks first, like especially the potatoes, which are larger. And then that way, I can just pour the rest of the soup in carefully, of course. You have a smaller opening when it comes to a mason jar, so you just want to be a little more careful. For storage of the soup, I would say eat no more than a week. So definitely eat it within 7 days, so that way it's still fresh. And sometimes it's even better when you reheat it, because it's giving a chance for all the ingredients to really immerse themselves in. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that notification bell and definitely subscribe so you can keep up to date with all of the new and future recipes we'll be exploring together as they come out in the following weeks. All right, thank you everyone. Happy holidays. Take care.